Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a financial professional saying something like, don't worry, the market averages around 10% a year over the long term? Maybe it made you feel better in the moment. Maybe it even made sense. But here's the question nobody seems to ask. If the market averages 10% a year, why are so many retirees running out of money? The answer has nothing to do with the average. It has everything to do with when those returns happen. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why average market returns simply cannot pay your monthly bills. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could be the most important thing you hear before you retire. Let's start with why averages are so appealing in the first place. If someone told you over the last several decades the stock market has returned an average of roughly 10% a year, that sounds incredible. And mathematically, it's true. But here's the problem. That number is calculated by smoothing out all the good years and all the terrible years into one tidy figure. It assumes a world where the market goes up a steady 10%, like clockwork, every single year. And we all know that is not the world we live in. In reality, the market is up 25% one year, down 38% the next, up 15%, down 20%. The average might look clean on paper, but the experience of living through it is anything but. Now, when you're still working and building wealth, that volatility is uncomfortable, but survivable. You're adding money, you have time, and you're not depending on the portfolio to write you a check every month. But the moment you retire, everything changes. And here's the line I want you to remember today. The market doesn't pay you an average. It pays you a sequence. That brings us to one of the most important and most overlooked concepts in retirement planning. It's called sequence of returns risk. And I want to explain this simply, because once you see it, you can never unsee it. Imagine two retirees. Let's call them David and Carol. They both retire on the same day with the same amount of money, $500,000. They both invest in the same type of portfolio. And over a 20-year retirement, they both earn the exact same average return. Same starting balance, same average return. Sounds like they should end up in the same place, right? They don't. Not even close. Here's why. David retires into a strong market. His first 5 years are great. The portfolio grows. By the time the inevitable downturns arrive later in his retirement, his account has built enough of a cushion to absorb them. He's fine. Carol retires into a weak market. Her first 2 years are rough. She loses 25%, then 30%. And while she's watching her balance drop, she still needs money. The mortgage still comes due. The grocery store still expects payment. The utility company doesn't care what the S&P 500 did last quarter. So Carol keeps withdrawing. And by the time the market recovers, Carol's account has been so depleted that she doesn't have enough shares left to benefit from that recovery. The market came back. Carol's portfolio didn't. Same average return, completely different outcomes. This is not a hypothetical concern. We saw this play out in real time in 2000, again in 2008, and again in 2022. Anyone who retired right before those downturns and was depending on their portfolio for income felt this risk personally. Sequence of returns risk is real, and the average return numbers do absolutely nothing to protect you from it. Now let's dig one layer deeper, because there's a specific mechanism that makes sequence of returns risk so damaging for retirees. It has a name: dollar cost ravaging. You may have heard of dollar cost averaging, That's when you invest a fixed amount regularly over time. And because you're buying more shares when prices are low and fewer when prices are high, it works in your favor over the long run. Dollar cost ravaging is the exact opposite, and it happens automatically when you're withdrawing from your portfolio in retirement. Let me show you how this works with a simple example. Meet Carol. She retires with $500,000. In year one, the market drops 25%. Her portfolio is now $375,000. But Carol still needs $2,500 a month to cover her basic living expenses. That's $30,000 a year. Here's the painful part. To get that $30,000, Carol has to sell shares at the worst possible time when prices are lowest. And those shares, they're gone forever. They will not be there to recover when the market bounces back. So now Carol has a smaller account that has already taken a significant loss, and it needs to work even harder just to keep up with her withdrawals. It's a math problem that compounds against her with every passing month. This is why financial planners have a saying: the math of averages assumes you're not withdrawing. Retirement means you are always withdrawing. The portfolio that works beautifully in a spreadsheet projection can unravel remarkably fast once a monthly withdrawal requirement is introduced during a market downturn. So if average market returns can't reliably pay your monthly bills, what can? The answer is guaranteed income. Income that shows up every single month regardless of what the market is doing. Let's talk about three sources. First, Social Security. This is the foundation for most retirees. It's guaranteed, it's inflation adjusted, and it lasts as long as you live. But here's the critical piece. The timing of when you claim Social Security has an enormous impact on the amount you receive for the rest of your life. This is not a decision to make casually. Second, pensions. If you're fortunate enough to have a traditional pension, you already understand the power of guaranteed income. A check shows up every month, no matter what happens on Wall Street. That's the model. That's what retirement income should feel like. The problem is that pensions have largely disappeared from the private sector, which is exactly why we need to talk about the third source. Third, fixed indexed annuities with an income rider. This is how today's retirees can build their own personal pension. Here's the simple version of how it works. A fixed indexed annuity, or FIA, protects your principal. You cannot lose money due to market downturns. Your account earns interest linked to a market index, like the S&P 500 when the market goes up. But when the market goes down, you don't participate in those losses. When you add a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit rider, what we call a GLWB, you now have a guaranteed income stream you cannot outlive. And here's the key distinction. Your income is calculated based on a benefit base, not your actual account value. That means even if the market drops significantly and your account value decreases, your guaranteed monthly income does not change. The market can have a terrible year. Your paycheck doesn't care. That's the income floor that changes everything. When your basic living expenses are covered by guaranteed income, your other assets, your investments, your savings, can stay invested for growth without the pressure of needing to be liquidated in a down market. Here's something most people don't realize until it's too late. How you structure your retirement income doesn't just affect your monthly paycheck. It directly affects how much of your Social Security gets taxed and how much you pay for Medicare. If your combined income, what the IRS calls provisional income, crosses certain thresholds, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit becomes taxable. that can quietly cost you thousands of dollars a year in taxes that you weren't expecting. And then there's IRMAA, the income-related monthly adjustment amount. If your income exceeds certain levels, Medicare adds a surcharge on top of your standard premium. We're talking about hundreds of additional dollars per month that could be avoided with proper planning. The right retirement income strategy isn't just about the size of your paycheck. It's about keeping as much of it as possible, because a dollar saved in unnecessary taxes is just as valuable as a dollar earned. So let's bring this all together. Average market returns are a useful concept for financial textbooks, but they're not a retirement income strategy. They cannot account for sequence of returns risk. They cannot absorb the damage of dollar cost ravaging. And they cannot guarantee that a check shows up on the first of every month, no matter what the market does. What does work is a guaranteed income floor, Social Security, optimized for maximum benefit, and for many people, a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider, your own personal pension that you cannot outlive and that the market cannot take away. That is what retirement security actually looks like. If you'd like to learn more, take a look at the free booklet called Retire Smart. It's linked on the page in the description box. And if this was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's getting close to retirement. This is Retirement Security Simplified, where we specialize in turning confusion into confidence, one conversation at a time.